It was a busy night for the Broncos. They were wheeling and dealing, trading back into the third round, and with pick number 83, selecting Riley Moss, a cornerback out of Iowa. Hello, welcome into the studio. I am Phil Milani alongside Sydney Jones and Eric Dalala. Sydney, what do you like about this pick? They clearly liked Riley Moss.
Yeah, I mean, Phil, Sean Payton has a history of trading up in the draft, and he's done it twice tonight. I think this is a great pick. You know, he was a 4-year starter out of Iowa. Last season, he was a first-team All-Big Ten selection, and I believe he finished top 10 in school history in career interceptions with 11. So, you know, he's a really speedy, physical, instinctive DB, and, you know, I like what he's got.
He had 4 interceptions 2 years ago, was the Big Ten Defensive Back of the Year. He's got some wheels himself, a 4.45 40, ran track in high school. Eric, what'd you like about it?
Yeah, I mean, you talk about those interceptions. In his career, 3 interceptions that he's taken back for touchdowns, all of which were longer than 30 yards, a couple of 50-plus yarders in there. And I asked him when we talked to him, how do you do that? What part of your game allows you to do that? He said it's 2 things. One, like Sydney mentioned, the instinctiveness and having that on-field ability. He does believe he has that, but then also film study and knowing what the other team's going to do. Sounds like a very mature player, the kind of guy that, you know, obviously, like you mentioned, Sydney, a 4-year starter at Iowa, has a lot of experience, started 38 games, so a mature guy that's going to know how to come in and work, know how to contribute to this roster.
Those Iowa kids, I mean, that defense was loaded last year, and they come in and they transition well to the NFL. What do you think? He did sound mature on the phone, huh, Sydney?
Yeah, he really did, Phil, and I think that's something the Broncos probably liked about him. He mentioned that the Broncos talked to him at the Senior Bowl, at the Combine. He came to Denver for a top 30 visit a couple weeks ago. So, like you mentioned, they traded up to grab him in the 3rd round. So he's definitely someone that the Broncos have had their eye out on.
It seems like he could fit into this Broncos defense, too. I mean, we talked about depth needed at cornerback and then also at the safety position. This gives the Broncos a little bit of versatility there.
At cornerback, you've got Pat Surtain, Damari Mathis. Tremont Smith obviously was added in free agency, but could still use depth there. So he's a guy that could really help at either position. And Phil, the Broncos clearly wanted him, as we've mentioned, because they gave up a 3rd rounder next year. It's worth noting they did have an extra 3rd rounder from the Sean Payton trade earlier this year, but Sydney, like you said, Sean Payton not afraid to go up and get somebody when he knows he wants them.
One last note about Riley Moss here. He paid to play his freshman year at Iowa. Was originally going to North Dakota State, but he grew up a Hawkeyes fan, decided to go there and take a chance on himself, bet on himself, and now he's a 3rd-round pick in the NFL, so a pretty cool story there. Riley Moss, the 83rd pick in the 2023 NFL Draft. That's going to do it for us. For Eric Dalala and Sydney Jones, I'm Phil Milani.